All right, strap yourselves in because we are going deep on Elvis Presley today.
The king.
The king, that's right.
Most people, I'd say, know him just as the king of rock and roll.
Right.
But we're going to kind of go past the hits.
Yeah.
Beyond the popular image.
And there's so many unanswered questions and just things that make his life so fascinating.
And we're going to be looking at the sources you've got, all the articles, the books.
Yes.
To kind of try and detangle fact from fiction.
Exactly. So let's just jump right into it.
Okay.
First up, the mystery of Elvis's death.
Yeah.
And you provided some really compelling stuff on this, including a couple of articles I haven't even seen before.
Yeah, and it's interesting because the official cause of death was a heart attack.
Right.
42 years old.
42, back in 77.
But the circumstances, they're...
Murky.
Yeah, murky's a good word.
Like found unresponsive in the bathroom at Graceland?
Yeah, well, that's just the tip of the iceberg, really.
It is.
What do you think about all these Elvis faked his death theories?
Well, it's easy to see why they persist.
Right.
I mean, some people just weren't ready to let go of their king.
Yeah.
And it also provides, like, a little glimmer of hope, like a way to keep him alive in their minds.
That's right.
So there's that.
Yeah, and, I mean, that speaks volumes about his impact.
For sure.
He was more than just a celebrity. He was a real cultural...
phenomena, symbol of an era.
Yeah.
So then you've got the sightings, the lyrics that people interpret as clues, the death certificate discrepancies.
Oh, yeah.
It's like a real-life mystery novel.
Right.
But moving on, another mystery, Elvis's parentage.
Right.
So we know about Vernon and Gladys, but your research suggests there might be more to the story.
Yeah, the speculation that Vernon may not actually be the biological father.
Right, and there are whispers of family secrets, scandals.
Yeah, rumors of paternity tests even.
Wow, so there could be a whole other branch of the family tree that we just don't know about.
Yeah.
What's your take on this? Like, do you think there's any validity to these claims, or is it just tabloid fodder?
It's hard to tell, really. And
Yeah.
these paternity claims haven't been officially confirmed.
Right.
But it just adds another layer of intrigue.
It does,
doesn't it?
yeah.
To his story.
It really makes you wonder what else is out there
Yeah. The hidden lives
to be discovered.
that even the biggest stars,
Oh, yeah.
try to keep hidden.
Okay, let's shift gears a little bit and talk about Elvis's spiritual side.
Okay.
You shared some pretty intriguing sources on this,
Yeah.
pointing to his exploration of various spiritual paths,
Yeah.
not just gospel music.
Well, he loved gospel music.
Right, we know that.
But it sees there's a deeper exploration of spirituality.
Yeah,
Christianity,
right.
Eastern influences,
Okay.
even the occult.
The cult.
Yeah.
Like seances and all of that.
Well, it seems that his spiritual curiosity really knew no bounds.
Yeah.
And of course, his mother, Gladys,
Oh, right.
deeply spiritual herself. So that probably had an influence as well.
That's true.
Yeah.
It makes me wonder what drew him to these more esoteric topics.
I think it's a question worth pondering, isn't it?
It is.
Oh.
Was he searching for a deeper meaning beyond the fame and fortune?
Could be.
Or was it something else entirely?
Maybe he was trying to connect with something beyond the material world.
Right.
Maybe something to ground him
Yeah.
amidst all the chaos of his life.
Okay, next up we have that infamous meeting between Elvis and President Nixon.
Oh, yeah.
I've always been so intrigued by this.
1970.
And you shared some declassified government documents, which is
Yeah, which really paint a vivid picture of this day
amazing.
where Elvis just shows up at the White House unannounced.
Unannounced.
Yeah.
Seriously. What was he thinking?
I don't know.
Well, he wanted to meet Nixon, right?
He wanted to meet Nixon.
Okay.
He'd written a letter beforehand expressing concern about drug use in America
Interesting.
and even offering his services as an anti-drug ambassador.
What? An anti-drug ambassador?
Yeah.
That's not the Elvis that most people picture.
No, it's not, is it?
I mean, and yet there he is.
Yeah, in the Oval Office,
In the Oval Office
shaking hands with Nixon.
with a badge from the Bureau of Narcotics and Dangerous Drugs.
Yeah, that's right.
What do you think was really going on there?
Well, some speculate it was a publicity stunt.
Okay.
Others say that he was genuinely concerned
Right.
about the state of the country.
Okay.
But these documents actually hint at something deeper.
Really? Like what?
Well, there are mentions of Elvis wanting to discuss communists and hippies,
Wow.
expressing a desire to help his country in ways that went beyond just drugs.
So almost like he wanted to be an informant.
Maybe.
Yeah?
Wow. What do you think? Was he a pawn
In a larger game?
in a larger game?
Or was he acting on his own?
Who knows? Maybe a bit of both.
I guess we'll never know for sure. Probably not. All right, one last mystery for this part of our deep dive.
Okay.
You included some really fascinating articles about unreleased Elvis recordings and the rumors of a double life.
Yes.
What can you tell me about that?
There's definitely a lot of questions surrounding Elvis's life beyond the stage.
Yeah.
And, rumors persist about unreleased songs, maybe even albums.
Really?
Locked away in vaults somewhere.
So we're talking potentially unheard Elvis music.
Potentially, yeah.
That's incredible.
It is.
What kind of stuff are we talking about here?
Well, that's the mystery, isn't it?
It is.
What musical directions did he explore that we just don't know about?
Right. What about these rumors of a double life?
Well, there are whispers of involvement in secret government operations.
Okay.
Shady business dealings.
All right.
Even connections to the mafia through his manager, Colonel Tom Parker.
Wait, the mafia?
Yeah.
Now that's a twist.
It is.
Okay.
But it's important to remember these are just rumors and stories passed down over the years.
Yeah, it's hard to separate fact from fiction.
It is, especially with someone as iconic as Elvis.
It seems like the more we learn, the more questions we have.
Absolutely. And that's part of what makes him so fascinating.
It is.
Isn't it?
Yeah.
This complex figure full of contradictions and mysteries that continue to captivate us all these years later.
Decades after his death.
Yeah. So welcome back to our Elvis deep dive.
Oh, man. I am still reeling from all those mysteries.
We've uncovered some fascinating stuff, haven't we?
We have, and it's really got me thinking about Elvis's lasting impact,
Yeah.
I feel like we often focus so much on these controversies and these unanswered questions, but his influence on music and culture, I mean, it's just undeniable.
Oh, absolutely. Elvis burst onto the scene in the 1950s.
Right.
A time when America was on the verge of these huge social and cultural changes.
Yeah.
And his music, this blend of rhythm and blues and gospel and country, I mean, it was revolutionary.
He took all those influences and created something completely new.
Right, exactly.
And something that spoke to a generation that was hungry for change.
Yeah, and the articles you shared, they
Right.
talk about that, the cultural context of that time.
Yeah.
Really fascinating.
And it wasn't just the music, was it?
No,
It was the whole package, the hip shaking moves,
Right.
the clothes,
the charisma.
Yeah. And it really challenged social norms.
Oh, yeah. I mean, Elvis made people uncomfortable.
And those reactions,
Yeah.
they're so telling, right? Both
Yeah.
positive and negative.
It forced people to confront their own
their own idea of.
preconceived notions about race, music, even self-expression.
Yeah, he sparked conversations, he ignited debates. It's
Yeah.
fascinating to think about how one person
Yeah.
could have such a profound impact.
Yeah. And what's interesting, he didn't set out to be a revolutionary.
Right.
He was just being himself. He was expressing himself.
But that authenticity, that raw energy, I mean,
Yeah, it struck a chord
it did.
with millions of people.
And it continues to this day.
Oh, yeah. I mean,
Think about all the artists who have cited him as an inspiration.
countless. Yeah.
He opened the door for generations of musicians.
Absolutely.
To break free from convention, to experiment.
Yeah, and it wasn't just music, was it?
Yeah.
The style, the attitude, the persona.
Yeah.
They've all become part of our collective cultural consciousness.
There was a really interesting article that you shared that argued that Elvis essentially created this modern concept of cool.
Yeah, it's a compelling argument.
It is.
Think about it, the rebellious attitude.
The leather jacket.
The slicked back hair.
Yeah.
These images were once, shocking.
Subversive.
Yeah, subversive. But now,
Iconic.
they're iconic. They've been replicated endlessly.
It tapped into something.
He did.
Really universal, like a yearning for freedom.
Yeah.
For self-expression.
This was something more.
For something more than just the ordinary.
Yeah, absolutely.
And those desires, those aspirations, they transcend time and culture.
They do.
Which is why he remains so relevant today.
Yeah.
Even for generations who weren't alive when he was at his peak.
Absolutely.
It's like a puzzle with missing pieces.
Yeah.
Full of intrigue and unanswered questions.
But beyond all the mystery.
Right, beyond the mystery.
What was Elvis really like?
Yeah, what was he really like?
I think what might surprise people most is his generosity.
Really?
Yeah.
That's not something you hear about very often.
No, it's not.
I mean, he was known for his kindness, his
Yeah.
willingness to help others. So we're talking like
Giving away money, cars, houses.
to friends, family.
To strangers. Yeah, to complete strangers in need.
That's incredible.
Man,
You know, it's a side of him that often gets overlooked.
it does.
And the stories of his loyalty,
Yeah.
his deep affection for his loved ones.
Yeah, he was fiercely protective of his family
Right.
and friends. Always went out of his way to support them.
It's just nice to hear that, you know?
Yeah.
It makes him seem more human, more relatable.
Yeah, he's a real person.
Right.
Not just
Not just this one-dimensional character.
Yeah.
What about his sense of humor?
Oh, he was funny.
Was he?
Yeah.
Was he as funny off-screen as he was in the movies?
Yeah, he had a playful side.
Okay.
A love of pranks and jokes.
Oh, that's great.
All the sources full of anecdotes
I bet.
about his mischievous nature.
Yeah.
He loved to laugh, and he loved to make other people laugh.
I can just picture him, like, being a goofball on set,
Yeah.
you know, lightening the mood with a joke or a silly voice.
Absolutely. He had that side to him.
It's part of what made him so charismatic, right?
Oh, I think so.
Like this complex mix of confidence
Yeah.
and vulnerability
And strength.
strength and gentleness.
Yeah, a real person.
A real person.
Yeah.
And it's that complexity, that mix of light and shadow
Yeah.
that keeps us coming back to his story, you
Yeah.
know, like trying to figure out who he really was.
Who he was.
And I think that's what we're trying to do in this deep dive. So,
It's a blend of talent and charisma and mystery
yeah.
that makes him such an enduring figure.
And he was a product of his time, but
But he transcended it.
he did.
Yeah.
It's like he captured a moment in history,
Yeah.
a feeling, an energy, and he bottled it up
Yeah.
and shared it with the world.
And that's a powerful thing.
It is powerful.
It is.
All right, we've got to wrap up part 2 here.
Okay.
But we're going to delve even further into Elvis's legacy
Yes.
in part 3.
We are.
All right, we're back for the final part of our Elvis Presley deep dive.
It's been quite a journey.
It has. We've explored the mysteries, the music,
The man behind the myth.
the man behind the myth.
So as we wrap things up,
Yeah.
I think it's important to consider his lasting legacy, you know?
Yeah, that's the big question.
Yeah.
How do we even begin to unpack all of that?
Well, I think we could start with the music.
Obviously.
Well, obviously. I mean, Elvis fundamentally changed the landscape of popular music.
Right.
He didn't just, introduce a new sound. He created this whole cultural phenomenon.
Yeah.
He blended genres. He broke down barriers. He inspired countless artists.
And those sources you shared about the evolution of rock and roll,
Yeah.
they were just, I mean, they really highlighted how he took those early influences
Yeah, rhythm and blues, gospel country.
and fused them into something totally unique.
Totally.
And his performances, electrifying. He brought this raw energy and passion to the stage.
Yeah, it was contagious.
It was contagious. It spread from the stage to the audience and then
Out into the culture?
out into the culture at large. He wasn't just entertaining people.
No.
He was making them feel something.
Yeah.
Making them move, making them think. And what's so fascinating is that it wasn't confined to music.
No, well,
I mean, his style, his attitude, his very presence.
became this symbol of rebellion.
Yeah, of youthful energy.
Yeah, changing society.
Yeah, he challenged social norms.
Not boundaries.
Made people rethink their ideas about race and music.
Self-expression, yeah.
He really pushed people's buttons, didn't he?
He did.
Whether they loved him or hated him.
Everyone had an opinion about Elvis.
They did. He sparked conversations. He ignited debates.
Absolutely.
He forced people to confront their own preconceived notions.
He did.
And he was a lightning rod for
Those-
cultural change.
Yeah, he paved the way for other artists to break free from convention,
Right, to be themselves.
to express themselves authentically.
And it wasn't just about challenging norms.
No.
It was also about breaking down racial barriers in music.
Right, he brought black music to a wider audience.
Yeah.
And in doing so, I think he helped to create a more inclusive and diverse musical landscape.
It's amazing to think about how much has changed since Elvis first
Burst onto the scene.
burst onto the scene.
Yeah,
And yet his music, his image, they're still relevant.
they are.
Why do you think that is?
That's a great question.
Why does he continue to resonate
Why all these years later?
with people? Yeah.
Well, I think, he tapped into something universal.
Yeah.
A yearning for freedom.
Self-expression, something more than just the...
the ordinary, the everyday.
He represented this break from the past.
Yeah.
A rebellion against the status quo.
And those desires, those aspirations, they transcend time and culture.
He was authentic, he was raw, he was passionate.
Yeah.
He wasn't afraid to be himself, and I think that resonated with people.
On a deep level.
On a very deep level.
Yeah.
We've talked a lot about the impact on music and culture.
Yeah.
But, we should acknowledge the personal legacy.
Yeah, the generosity.
The
kindness.
The
loyalty.
The loyalty, which are often overshadowed by the glitz and the glamour.
But they're an essential part of who he was.
He wasn't perfect.
No, of course not.
We know that. We've explored the darker aspects of his life.
The struggles, the contradictions.
But I think that's part of what makes him so human, so relatable.
Absolutely.
This complex figure full of light and shadow.
Yeah.
But ultimately...
I think his legacy is one of hope.
Yeah.
With inspiration.
The power of music to change the world.
Absolutely.
He showed us that it's okay to be different.
Yeah.
To challenge the status quo, to follow your dreams.
Even if they seem impossible.
And that's a beautiful message. To end on Elvis Presley, more than just a singer.
A cultural icon.
A cultural icon, a symbol of an era.
And a reminder that even in our imperfections, we can leave an indelible mark on the world.
It's been an incredible deep dive.
It has.
Exploring all these different facets of his life.
Of his life and legacy?
And legacy.
As we wrap up, I'd like to leave you with one final thought.
Okay.
We've explored the facts, the mysteries, the music.
Yeah.
But the true legacy of Elvis lives on in how his story continues to inspire us and challenge us.
To make us think.
And make us think. So as you continue your own journey of discovery, ask yourself, what aspect of Elvis's life or legacy resonates most strongly with you?
And why?
And why?
Wow, that's something to think about. Thank you for joining us on this deep dive into the world of Elvis Presley.
Until next time.
Until next time.